What's up, guys, and welcome back to Vlad the Rad Productions. Today we're going to talk about, well, as you saw in the intro, it's going to be the Netflix 2022, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was released at midnight last night here on the West Coast and 3 a.m. on the East Coast. I'm not sure when, like Europe and Australia and all them got it. Basically, I'm going to break it down for you. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of the franchise, specifically 74 and 86, which is 1 and 2. The movie that was released last night opted to, hold on, we got a live comment here. Hate My Name's got an upload review. I'm excited to see what you have to say about it. I was not happy at all with the film, to be honest. I wish that they would have done it differently than they actually did. It wasn't a terrible movie. It should never have been named Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It shouldn't have brought Sally back. If they wanted to do a Texas Chainsaw Massacre that was in canon with the original film, but disregarded 2 through 8 or whatever it is, there was a way to do it. But obviously, with this movie, I'm upset because they didn't take a time to build the backstory of the last 50 years, 50 fucking years of Sally and what she's been doing. The first scene you see her in is her, by the way, spoilers all over this fucking thing. The first scene that you see her in, she's slaughtering a pig. And as we all know, that's the family, the Sawyer family or Hewitt family, whichever family you grew up on. I'm a Sawyer. I grew up on Sawyers. I have no problem with the Hewitts. 2003, 2006 were decent movies. But the reality is that this new movie has nothing to do with Texas Chainsaw Massacre other than John Larroquette, who did the original intro to 1974, also did the intro in this movie. They bring back a character named Sally, but as we all know, Marilyn Burns is dead, and they brought back a new actress to portray Sally Hardesty. If you're going to make a canon part 2 to something that came out 50 years ago, excuse me, 48 years ago, it has to, the new film has to add some connection between 1974 and 2022. There was none. There was absolutely none. What we do know is that I'm going to say during part 1, Leatherface was probably early to mid 20s. His brother, I don't know if they ever really established if Hitchhiker was, I think, older, because there's dispute as to which brother was older. But anyway, I would say mid 20s. And in this movie, they show in 1975, which would have been the year after the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, he somehow ended up in a boarding home, like a kid's home or whatever, again, at the age of 25 years old. My other issue with that is after he sees the bus of people outside, which I don't know how he missed them coming back into town and getting back into his house, he breaks through a wall to get his chainsaw and his leather bib. So when he got to this school, the lady who owned it or ran it was like, yeah, go ahead, make a new wall, put your fucking chainsaw in there. The whole country, specifically the state of Texas, is looking for a masked killer. And this dude shows up with a chainsaw and a bloody fucking apron. And he's like, hey, I need a place to crash. And she's like, oh, yeah, hop on in. Come on. No, that's not how that happened. Yeah, I get the part where she's like, be a good boy. She was trying to like teach him, whatever. But we all know Leatherface doesn't communicate, doesn't really talk. So I just don't really see how that whole living situation came about. All the kids have moved out. She stays there in Harlow, Texas. Okay, fair enough. Now that we've got through that part of it, we get to Sally, who shows up. She has her cute little, and the thing that bothers me the most about this is they try to use her, or they try to use Jamie Lee Curtis in the new Halloween movies as a template for Sally. And I think that was completely wrong. It was a bad idea. They should have, again, there's so many directions they could have took with this whole story, to be honest. It's, to me, this is like Leatherface. I'm not going to count it as a Texas. It's going to be in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre mythos forever. But Leatherface was not Texas Chainsaw Massacre to me. This movie is not Texas Chainsaw Massacre to me. Leatherface, the other part I had a problem with, every Michael Myers escape has been from the back of a fucking ambulance, and they did it again in this movie. Like, they couldn't come up with another way. They're like, oh, Michael Myers did it, so Leatherface can do it. Bubba's got it. The cool part, I will give him this, a lot of the scenes, the death scenes, which were gory and awesome, most of them, they were ripoffs of previous Texas Chainsaw Massacre kills. You know, the part where he has Sally up on the chainsaw and she's like, "Gah, gah, 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 gah," and then he whips her. Briniarski did that, and I think it was 03 or 06, one of those ones. He did that same maneuver. The swinging of the chainsaw at the end, done in the original 74. But when he snaps that dude's arm and the bones, he does the compound fracture and then stabs that fucking dude in the neck with his own broken arm. I thought that was actually a pretty cool scene. But again, it's been done. Been there, done that. One of the other cool scenes I liked at the end kind of was when he yanked the girl out of the car and then chopped her head off and he's standing there with her head. But here's the other thing. If it's 50 years or, 48 years since the original that Leatherface has been in hiding, has he been going to the gym? Because I'd like to meet a 75-year-old man that can whip a chainsaw around his head like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, another part of the movie that just is like, ugh. And don't get me started on the bus scene. One of the things I hated about this movie was they tried movies like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre and even Texas 2, Cannibal Holocaust, they were making a statement about things going on in the world then that they kind of knew that they were making, but not really. This movie tried to take every social issue and show it for a snippet, right? So it was the racist cops for a snippet who didn't really, that's how the feeling you got off of it. It didn't end up really being that way, but there was a snippet of it. Then there was a snippet of the school shooting. I guess that got a little bit more airplay than a lot of the other stuff. But it was like all these little tiny things that never really went anywhere. It was like, this is an issue. So when the bus scene happened and it's like all these people with their phones out, I get it. That's probably what would happen nowadays because people are fucking stupid. There's like 30 people on that bus. 15 of them are dudes, and all of you run from one guy with a chainsaw. At least like scatter them about. When the rain started, like obviously in the background, the movie theater is lit up, so the town has power, right? But the rain starts, and she's all, "Get on the bus. Fuck you, bitch. I'm gonna go inside." Where there's obviously power, and I'm going to fucking watch a movie and drink my drink and hang out. But no, let's all get on the fucking bus where no one can get out. There's no back door. Every bus I've ever been on has a back door. Well, I guess those are school buses. But another stupid scene where he's got like Facebook Live or Instagram Live going, and people are like, "Oh, this looks fake. Oh, this looks stupid. How do I go to this fright?" You know what I mean? Like, they tried so hard to make a social statement out of it, and it just failed. There was no, I think the run time's like an hour and 15 minutes. There was no time to set anything up. I think it's when Sally gets out to the field and they show the lady whose face he cut off. That was kind of a cool little death scene. But again, it reminded me of the Halloween when he had the three, the pumpkin, the witch, and the pumpkin witch. Fuck, why is this escaping me? And the ghoul, or is it the skeleton or whatever from Halloween 3? Michael Myers does a very similar thing, so they just redid that essentially. It was still cool looking, the graphic of it and everything. And that's the thing is like this movie had great gore. The skull. You're right, Josh. This movie had really good gore, but it was gore that we've seen 100 times over. When he's smashing a dude in the head that's laying on the ground, looked cool. Seen it before. Briniarski, however the fuck you say his name, did it. I can't remember which one it was, but he smashed the dude's head in the fucking meat factory with a sledgehammer. So we've already seen that. Also, since when did fucking Leatherface become a goddamn ninja with a fucking chainsaw and a fucking sledgehammer when he whips it down the stairs, hits old girl in the chest, bangs through the fucking floor? Like, what? He's 75 years old. How the fuck is he throwing fucking sledgehammers around? And then the fucking ninja star with the fucking chainsaw and knocks the girl. Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Make it realistic. I mean, as realistic as Texas Chainsaw Massacre could be, but I just thought it was just out of control. There was no backstory. What bothered me the most, and what I appreciated a little bit more about the Halloween remakes, was they gave some sort of backstory. You okay, buddy? They gave some sort of backstory to Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode, where she's been this whole fucking time, which was training to kill Michael Myers. All we know about Sally was that she slaughtered pigs and had a fucking truck. Yeah, Josh, it's and I agree with you 100%. Make it original. Or at least if you're going to disregard everything else and say we're canon to the 74, other than this stupid fucking picture, not stupid fucking picture, that sounds bad, but other than the picture, we got nothing. There is nothing about a police investigation. As a matter of fact, if you watch through the credits, at the end of credits, you have Bubba, Leatherface, Thomas Hewitt, whoever you want to call him this day and age, walking back to what appeared to be the original house. So it's been empty for 50 years. No one tore it down. No one did anything. The lack of backstory, if you're going to disregard the rest of the franchise and go canon for 74, it has to be relatable to 74. Someone like me who's obsessed with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that's what I want. I want the story to be continued off of what you're supposed to be continuing it off of. The fact that you just shoot 10 miles ahead or 50 years ahead with no explanation as to the last 40 years is just asinine. So basically Leatherface has just lived in this boarding home for children for 50 years now. I don't buy it. It's lazy writing. And you know what sucks the most is my understanding is that the people who made the remake Evil Dead had something to do with this film. And I love that remake. I actually love that remake. They fucking dropped the ball when it comes to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They really did the franchise a disservice. Josh says, disregard the rest of the franchise and don't consider the fact 50 years have passed. I'll probably watch it tonight. I've literally watched it twice in 12 hours. I went to sleep with it last night, or I'm sorry, watched it before I went to sleep last night, and then woke up this morning, told Angela that I didn't want to be bothered. I would be in bed crying all day, and she actually took me pretty serious. It was pretty cute. And that I didn't want to be bothered by anyone. And she's like, why? And I'm like, they ruined Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And she just started laughing. And I'm like, this really isn't a laughing matter to me. And I get it. Like, if you're going to, it's a name people know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We know Leatherface. People know the name of that movie. So, of course, anytime someone wants to make something new, it's easier to slap an old label on it to garner interest. And I have seen some of the original Boozy, come here. I have seen some of the regular cast from 74, kind of like, oh yeah, I watched it. It was good. I just, like I said, as a fan, it did nothing for me. It answered zero questions. It was a gore fest, which is great. But for someone who's Balder, been waiting for, 2006? We're talking 16 years for something to come along that was worth watching, because 3D was bullshit. And Leatherface was obvious bullshit. It's hard for me to watch both of those films. So anyway, if I was going to give it a thumbs up or thumbs up or thumbs down, it's getting 2 thumbs down. I'll watch it probably in the future at some point in my life, just because some of the gore was pretty decent, but a lot of shit didn't make sense, and I didn't like it. Sounds like he didn't like it either. Thanks for tuning in to my review of the Netflix's fuckers. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Leave some comments down below, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.